इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना।
इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना।
हम चले नेक रास्ते पे, हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना।
इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना।
दूर अज्ञान के हों अंधेरे, तू हमें ज्ञान की रोशनी दे।
दूर अज्ञान के हों अंधेरे, तू हमें ज्ञान की रोशनी दे।
हर बुराई से बचते रहे हम, जितनी भी दे भली जिंदगी दे। बैर होना किसी का किसी से, भावना मन में बदले की होना। हम चले नेक रास्ते पे, हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना।
इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना।
हम न सोचे हमें क्या मिला है, हम ये सोचे किया क्या है अर्पण।
हम न सोचे हमें क्या मिला है, हम ये सोचे किया क्या है अर्पण।
फूल खुशियों के बांटे सभी को, सबका जीवन ही बन जाए मधुबन। अपनी करुणा का जल तू बहा के, कर दे पावन हर एक मन का कोना। हम चले नेक रास्ते पे, हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना।
इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना।
हम चले नेक रास्ते पे, हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना।
इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना। इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना।
Hi, do you dream? Of course you do. Who doesn't dream? So if you have a dream and you think it is difficult to achieve, don't just sit there. Gather courage to believe that you can succeed and leave no stone unturned to make it a reality. Winners never quit and quitters never win. Ambition is the path to success. And persistence is the vehicle you arrive in. Persistence yani hut, zid, dridhta. That is persistence. Why is it so many people choose to go easy route and give up midway? I myself personally try to live my life the opposite. One of my biggest fears is dying with regret. The regret of not knowing what I could have accomplished but didn't because I was scared, didn't work hard enough and gave up when it got tough. Whether it is fitness goal or career or sports or another challenge, anything in life, I will always try to see it through. Giving up it is easy, but finishing a goal is hard. I understand. Remember why you started at the first place and you would never give up midway. Most people give up just when they are about to achieve the success. They give up at the last minute of the game, 1 foot from the winning touchdown, that touch line, that winning line. In this episode, I bring to you Never Say Die, the never give up stories from across the globe. In fact, not just this episode, but also in the next. We continue with a similar kind of stories of perseverance from India in the next episode. Today, I'll take you across the globe and then we get back to our homeland, India, in the next episode. See, I agree, there is no magic pill to success. If there was a magic pill, we could have given you that very pill to swallow right away. But no such pill exists. I'm sorry. However, what I can give you is a few motivational stories to inspire a stronger belief that you will succeed. And that is what we have for you today, my dear friends, in today's episode. Some very, very short, motivational, real life stories to help you strengthen your strengths and power. So if you want to give those doors of success a real care, listen to all these stories very carefully. Kaan sen bankar sunni hai. And let's begin listening to these 10 on 10 motivational stories in no particular order. When it comes to amount of inspiration you could draw from each story that are real life stories. The first story is about Jack Canfield, the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Chicken Soup series of books changing our world with one story at a time. There is not a single library that doesn't have Jack Canfield's book, One of the best motivational speakers, professional coach, and an incredibly inspiring author of our times. He and his co-author, Mark Victor Hansen, pitched the original Chicken Soup for the Soul book to over 130 different publishers. But none of them were interested, and they said that no one likes to read inspirational stories. 1 minute. Is that true? No one likes to listen to inspirational stories? If you just said a yes, then this episode and the next episode is not for you. Please put your mobile off. They are both full of real life inspiring stories. Will you stay tuned in? I hope so. Anyways, jokes apart, coming back to the Chicken Soup author's struggle. After 100 plus pitches to the publishers, their agent dropped them as well. And they were both determined to get the book published. Luckily, they never gave up and continued to hustle until their book was picked up by a small publisher in Florida. And now, there are around 250 Chicken Soup for the Soul books and over 500 million copies sold worldwide. If they had given these inspirational stories, wouldn't have been read across the world and they wouldn't have had millions of dollars in their pockets. Today, 28 years after they first began sharing happiness, inspiration and hope through their books, for every age group, they still publish one new title every month. They also have their podcast and TV shows and they produce a lot of content. So the lesson here is never ever give up. Could you imagine if they quit on the 129th publisher? Where would his life be now? If you had a strong vision and clear goals, never stop, until you achieve them. It doesn't matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop. The next story is about McDonald's Ray Kroc. Ray Kroc is another one of the coolest perseverance stories that shows us that you can succeed at any time in your life. The golden yellow arches that we see from far away are also synonymous with one of the oldest and biggest and the most successful business branding campaigns in the world. But without Ray Kroc, McDonald's would have just been one location burger shop in one of the cities. Ray was a 50-plus-year-old struggling milkshake machine salesman who lived a comfortable life but craved for more. He met the brothers behind McDonald's and eventually convinced them of a franchise model to throw and grow the brand further. This led him to massive expansion, buying the land where all the locations operate and grown into the McDonald's we know today. Let me quickly take you through the entire synopsis of McDonald's story. Started as a one-location burger selling shop. Number 2. Burgers were originally 15 cents. Today, they hire around 1 million plus workers every year, or maybe even more than that. Number 3. McDonald's billions of dollars in revenue makes it not just a successful business model, but one of the largest economy in the world. More richer than some countries, imagine. So lesson is dream big. Without a dream to grow the franchise McDonald's, it wouldn't have been, though so big. It might have been just a one location burger joint. Never aim low. Shoot for the stars like how Mr. Ray Kroc did at the age of 50. Courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it is the quiet voice at the end of the day whispering, I will try again tomorrow. Now, after McDonald's, the next story is about Alibaba's founder, Jack Ma. Jack Ma is the richest man from China in entire Asia, worth about $39 billion, and runs maybe even more. And he runs one of the largest company in China called Alibaba. But he wasn't a genius who instantly created his amazing company. He faced rejections for all life. He applied for 30 different jobs, including the police and for KFC, and he was rejected upon rejected upon rejected everywhere. In addition, he applied and got denied 10 different times from Harvard. But after discovering the internet in the mid-90s, he understood the possibilities that existed. He was a visionary. He went on to create several companies despite all the rejections he had faced previously. The lesson here is believe in yourself. If Jack Ma would have listened to others, he would have accepted all the rejections and lived a life of mediocrity. Instead, he kept going and going and going, and he built a company which is one of the biggest in the world. He built an incredible business which impacts millions of lives every single day. And the best part, he spoke at Harvard University for the commencement speech, the school that rejected him not once but 10 times. Ever tried? Ever failed? No matter. Try again, fail better. Alright, so after Jack Ma from Alibaba, the next story is about the founder of WhatsApp. His name is Jen Koum. He is the founder of WhatsApp, and he grew up in a very poor family in Ukraine and didn't even have a running water at his home. After finding his skills in Silicon Valley, he was almost hired at Facebook, but he got rejected in the last interview. Instead of sulking and being sad, Jen went on and created WhatsApp. अभी भी तुम देख रहे हो ना WhatsApp? Come back to the episode, बाद में देख लेना. It becomes the world's most popular messaging application early in 2013, 14, 15. and he had more than 2 billion users worldwide by February 2020. Today, I don't know where the number is. Who doesn't remember the news which read that WhatsApp was acquired by Facebook in February 2014 for approximately $19.3 billion? Remember, Facebook rejected him in the last interview? Isn't Jen the epitome of hard work and never giving up attitude? So wow as a story, so inspiring. This entire story of the WhatsApp founder reminds me of what Bear Grylls once said about keep going attitude. He said that your hardest times often lead to the greatest moments of your life. Keep going. Tough situations build stronger people in the end. Survival can be summed up in 3 words. Never give up. Don't take a no for any answer. If you believe in yourself, keep going towards your goal. Know that once you complete it, you will have the satisfaction of succeeding when others doubted you or told you it was impossible. The next story, which is a quick story, is about Thomas Edison. Who doesn't know him? Edison is one of the finest definitions of perseverance. Considered unteachable at a young age, the inventor went on to eventually create the electric bulb. While most thought he failed, he simply said that he found over 1,000 ways how not to build a light bulb. Thomas Edison once said, "Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time." The lesson is, if you fail, learn from it and keep moving forward. Failure isn't meant to be a reason to stop, right there. It's to show you that there is another way out. The first one didn't work, there is another way out. As Tony Robbins says, don't change the goal, change the approach. Alright, after Edison, the next story I'm going to share is one of my favorites. Listen to it carefully. The story is about Steven Spielberg. His journey to becoming Steven Spielberg is fantastic and very motivational. Spielberg was rejected from the USC Film School 3 times. But that didn't stop him. Instead, he just tried a different school. He applied to Cal State Long Beach and he got into their film program. And while still as a student at Cal State, he landed up into an unpaid internship at Universal Studios. And there was some gig that soon led him dropping out. He also left that internship. It was a calculated move that would allow him to rub elbows with movie makers at Universal Studios to shortening his path to fulfilling his dream. So he took that up. Unfortunately, his internship didn't last long enough for him to break into the movie business like he had planned. But undeterred, Steven would still sneak into the studios, pretending to work there so he could learn more about the movies until he could catch his break. Legend has it, he had an 8mm film that he knew the studio executives would love, only if they would watch it. He found a way to get into their hands, but they flip-flopped on him and then they said that they would only watch if he shot it on 16mm film. So Steven thought that what to do, and then he went ahead and he rented a 16mm camera and reshot the entire movie again. And when he brought it back to the executives, they told him not to come back until it was on 35mm film. Undeterred, he jumped through their hoops and reshot the movie on a 35mm film. The third time. Finally, the executives decided to relent and give his movie a look. And the rest is the history. The movie went on to win a prize at the Atlanta Film Festival and helped Steven lock in a 7-year contract directing movies for the Universal Studios. No doubt, if you keep looking for your break, the day will come when you find it. Sometimes a dream almost whispers, it never shouts, Very hard to hear that. So you have to, every day of your lives, be ready to hear that little whisper in your ear, said Steven Spielberg once in one of his interviews. After this fantastic story that is very motivational, the next story is again very interesting. It's about Paulo Coelho. You know, every single library you go, you will find his book titled The Alchemist, translated in all languages, Gujarati, Hindi, or whatever regional language we have in India. When it was first published some 30 years ago, no one noticed. A bookseller in the northeast corner of the country told the author Paulo Coelho that only one person purchased a copy during that first week when it was released. Unfazed by the silent reception, Paulo confidently waited for those next few sales to come in. And he would wait for a long time too. And it took 6 months before his second copy was sold. And it was sold to exactly the same person who bought the first copy. So by the end of this first year, the publisher lost hope in his book and so decided to cancel the contract and cut him loose. But Paulo didn't let that demoralizing rejection paralyze his dreams. Instead of quitting like many would do at that point, he decided to be steadfast and continued to pursue his vision. So he looked for another publisher. He looked, and he looked until he finally found one. And with it, he found his second chance. Once his book was published again, it slowly started to sell by the word of mouth. His persistence started to pay off, and he eventually sold 3,000 books, then 6, then 10. Month over month, year over year, his book sales started to grow. And now, The Alchemist has sold over 150 million plus copies across the globe. And it's such a good thing. Had he quit, he wouldn't be who he is today, a literary legend. It is the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting, said Paulo. Henry Ford once said, failure is the only opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. The next story is about the famous and one of the finest basketball players of our time, Michael Jordan, aka MJ. Most people don't know this, but when Michael was in school, he was cut out of the school squad, the varsity squad. He was not selected. Considering he had such big dreams as a star basketball player, that rejection hit him really hard. In fact, it hit him so hard that he went home, locked himself in a room and cried and cried and cried. Now Jordan cried. He cried and he cried, but he didn't quit. छोड़ नहीं दिया उसने. He picked himself up and decided to crush it, all the negatives. He also decided to train himself like none in the world. He worked really hard. He even grew 4 inches as a high school student because he worked hard a lot. And then that next year, Michael did what all the winners do. He tried again. And this time, however, he had made a team and quickly became the school's best player. Then he went off to play in college, and rest is the history. Michael Jordan is equal to basketball because Michael didn't quit. Instead, he transformed his failure into fuel for future success. He then used that fuel to become the Michael Jordan, the man who could score 292 points in his basketball career, acquire 6 NBA championships and collect 5 MVP titles, and come to be known to many as the GOAT, greatest of all time. So, the moral of this motivational story is that no doesn't mean never. To learn to succeed, you must first learn to fail, said Michael Jordan himself. The next story is also very interesting. I mean, every story is interesting, but this is quite interesting because of the facts and figures attached to it. It is about Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC. He didn't start KFC until he was 60 years old, senior citizen. He started it after receiving his first social security check from wherever he lived. That's when most people are taught to hang it up across the bucket list and fall asleep watching TV. यहाँ पर लोग मंदिर जाते हैं. That is what we do. But he started this chain. And this story obviously is very interesting and very motivational. He worked from age 60 to 73 to master his technique and grow his business. This often came at the expense of sleeping in his car. It was hard work, but he loved doing it. And the people loved the food. When he sold the company, he earned $2 million and lived out of rest of his life in comfort and not needing to depend on the social security check which the government provides. The lesson here is, it's never too late. Whether you are 30 or 45 or 60 years old, never give up on your dreams. The next story is about Lionel Messi. If you keep up with soccer, football, then you've heard this name. Synonymous to football and soccer is Messi. At the age of 11, Messi was cut out from the soccer team because he was too small. He was diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency, which made him much smaller than most kids of his age. However, Messi didn't let this stop him. Instead, week after week, every day before going to sleep, he would inject himself with a growth hormone into himself. Messi would do this for 7 days in one leg, then 7 days in other leg for 6 long years. Fortunately, Messi's foresight and persistence paid off. Now he is one of the highest paid soccer players, having a net worth of $400 million and is considered as one of the best soccer player of all times. And he won soccer's greatest achievements existing on this planet forever in multiple times. And he won soccer's greatest achievements existing on this planet for over a multiple times. Even when it seems nature is against you at first, she bends to those with a strong will and staying power. You can overcome anything if you love something enough. Lionel Messi once said, "Trust me, you are braver than you believe, you are stronger than you seem, and you are smarter than you think." After this very, very lit and motivational story of Lionel Messi, the soccer champ, injecting himself for 6 long years on one leg and the other leg and the one leg and the other leg for 6 years, the next story is one of the very, very interesting stories. You're going to love it totally. It is about a favorite of everyone who loves films, who loves content, and who loves creativity. It's about Walt Disney. Everyone knows who this legend is, but did you know that before Walt Disney became the Walt Disney, he had once been fired because his boss thought that he lacked imagination and he had no good ideas, he's not creative, and he was fired. There were times where he didn't even have food to survive. With his last few dollars, Walt Disney made his way to Hollywood to try and make it big. Unfortunately, early time in Hollywood was just as bad. He was told that Mickey Mouse would fail. What an idea, it will not work. He was told that Mickey Mouse would fail, and he faced constant rejections one after the other and seemed destined to never succeed. But Walt persisted and went on to grow the company with amusement parks, feature films, and is known as the cultural icon today. Fortunately, Walt Disney didn't listen to his critics and pressed on to create his own cartoon animation company we so love, and we are so thankful for the content that he has given all of us across the globe. The success lesson from Walt Disney's story is that learn to take a calculated risk and don't stop doing what you love just because the world has shown you obstacles. Ironically, years later, Walt Disney acquired the Kansas City Star newspaper, the one who said that you lacked creativity and fired him years ago. Isn't that cool? The next story is about Howard Schultz. Thanks to the persistence and tenacity of Howard, today we can enjoy a delicious Starbucks coffee as we work on our computers or hang out with friends at a cafe. Most people don't know this, But when Howard Schultz was just starting out, he was finding it very difficult to convince investors to, write him a check. It would take more than 214 rejections before he found someone who believed in his idea enough to help fund him. But that's not all. In its infancy, his company also incurred losses for 3 straight years. And one of those early years, in 1989, to be exact, he incurred more than $1 million loss alone. Fortunately, he managed to stick with his goal and completely turned his company around and into one of the strongest brands today that inspired many others to venture into the industry. I am convinced that most people can achieve their dreams and beyond if they have determination to keep trying, said the founder of Starbucks, Howard Schultz. And after this motivational story, here I have the last story of this episode, and that is about Steve Harvey. The now famous American television presenter, a comedian, an actor, author, and a game show host has a great motivational story. He was once a struggling, starving artist. And before he would become the famous host and essentially a household name, he had to conquer many obstacles. In Harvey's early days, when he was just in school, after being asked what he wanted to be when he grew up, he shared his dream to his teacher and his entire class that he wanted to be a TV presenter, a TV anchor. After speaking about his dreams, his teacher lambasted him and assured him that he would never make it on television. His teacher told him that his dream was impossible because no one in his community ever made it on TV. Nor would he make it in the show business because he had a speech impediment. But Harvey didn't let his teacher dismantle his dream. No, he would strive and struggle to make a name for himself. After getting out of school and for nearly 12 years after he turned 18, he would do small stand-up comedy gigs and local shows to break into the show business. Interestingly, on the day he was considering to give up, instead of calling his dad to tell him he quit, he called on the answering machine his parents set up for him for anything that he wanted to convey. So it so happened that answering machine was on a message from the Apollo Comedy Club inviting him to come on their show. Delighted by the invitation, Harvey pounced on the opportunity, and once he got on the TV, he never looked back. Steve Harvey has been on TV since ever, and he is the household name. A person has to remember that the road to success is always under construction. You have to get that through your head that it is not easy to become successful, says Steve Harvey. And to end this episode, let me remind you once again. As I said in the beginning, the next episode is about the successful business entrepreneurs from India. But before I see you in the next episode, let me end this episode with an Albert Einstein quote. It's not that I am so smart. It's just that I stay with my problems a little longer. Stay there, hang on, stick on, and you will succeed.